This is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual, reference number 114300. The Oyster Perpetual line in general is perhaps Rolex's most understated line of watches, without counting their Cellini range. This watch has a stainless steel case with a case diameter of 39mm, a lug-to-lug height of 48mm, a lug width of 20mm, and a case thickness of 11mm. It has a solid case back, which is the same for all Rolex watches, at least as far as I am aware. You'll notice that I've put a piece of circular tape on the case back of this watch. We will get back to that later on in the video. This watch has a signed screwed down crown and a sapphire crystal. It has a water resistance of 100 meters, so you can bring this diving with you if you wanted to. It has a black dial with a very subtle but beautiful sunburst effect. The hands and the borders of the hour markers, as well as the crown at the 12 o'clock position, are all made from white gold instead of stainless steel, and have been impeccably polished. It is an automatic watch powered by Rolex's caliber 3132 movement. Moving on to the bracelet, it comes on the Oyster bracelet, which is perhaps the most comfortable watch bracelet that I've ever put on. It is simply amazing just how comfortable a stainless steel bracelet can feel when it's done right. The clasp opens up by gently pulling on the small section at the end of it. It has 3 micro adjustment slots, but no easy-link extension or any other form of extensions for that matter. This watch is close to perfect. It is simple, elegant, classy, yet sporty at the same time. One of the highlights of this watch to me is just how understated it is. This is a watch for someone who wants something really well made from a reputable brand, but something that won't draw too much attention to themselves. However, if you are thinking of purchasing this watch, there are a few things that you might want to take note of, especially since you either need to put your name down on a very long waiting list at the local AD or pay a hefty premium for the watch on the grey market. The first point to note is the legibility of the watch. This is not to say that the watch is hard to read, it's just that it could have been done better. While the hour markers received a healthy amount of lume, this is not really the case for the minute or hour hands. The funny thing is that this watch is perfectly legible in the dark. It is during the day that it suffers a little. While it is easy to see the hour markers during the day due to the white luminous paint, because the hands are highly polished white gold with very little white luminous paint on it, it doesn't stand out as well against the black dial, depending on the lighting and the angle of the watch. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like the finishing on the hands. It's just that when you try to be both sporty and dressy at the same time, some compromises obviously has to be made. While it seems like I'm nitpicking, the fact is that you're paying thousands of dollars on a watch like this, and so the small details do matter. The next point to note is the 904L stainless steel that Rolex uses. This is not specific to this particular Rolex model, but it is something to note if you're buying the newer Rolex watches. As you can see from my watch bracelet, this material scratches very easily. These scratches are mainly from wearing it at my desk. The case back itself will scratch just from contact with the clasp. This is why I've put a piece of tape on my case back. I read that one of the reasons why Rolex uses this grade of stainless steel is because it polishes better than other grades of stainless steel. The problem is that on the parts of the watch with the satin finishing or the machine brush finishing, I don't think there's a way of removing the scratches from those parts without retaining the finishing. So you'll end up either babying this supposedly durable everyday watch, or end up with a very scratched up watch very soon after buying it. The last point to note is the lugs of the watch. While it is not as thick as Rolex's previous super cases, it is not as elegant as the lugs on proper dress watches, especially with the satin finishing on the top of the lugs. So unlike the newer Datejusts with the fully polished lugs, this watch will not look as good on a leather strap, which is a shame because the simple and elegant black dial looks really good when paired with a formal black leather strap. That said, I've seen this watch on third-party rubber straps, such as those from Everest Straps and Rubber Bee, and it looks phenomenal. I forgot to mention that this particular model has been discontinued by Rolex. It has now been replaced by the OP41. From what I understand, the newer model is actually not 41mm, but quite close to the 39mm of this watch. One of the main differences between this watch and the newer model is that the OP41 doubles up on the hour markers at the 3, 6 and 9 position. Now some people like it, some people don't. I personally don't mind it. And I do believe that the doubling up of those hour markers makes the watch slightly easier to read. At the end of the day, I chose the OP39 because of the short production run of the watch. This is because I bought this watch with the intention of selling it off sometime in the future. And so I figured the short production run and the fact that it's been discontinued by Rolex will allow it to maintain its value better. I must say that this is one of my favorite watches in my collection. I've worn it almost every day since I bought it earlier in the year. The longer I have this with me, the less inclined I am to sell it off in the future.